Hello. What you're looking at is an electric fence charger that I have assembled. And I'm going to explain to you how you can make one very simply. There are only 4 basic components. You'll have a capacitor, which is non-polarized. You have a flasher, automotive flasher, a battery, and an automotive coil. I'm going to turn this around because I'm used to doing it this way at first. Okay. Let me see how that's showing up. I'll bring that up a little more. Let me see. Yeah, that's good. All right. Here we go. I have a diagram of this. You have the 12-volt battery. What you can do is put a fuse in series with that. I'd say you probably need about 5 amps at least. Put a fuse in series, and then you go to your switch. From your switch to your plus side of your coil, your primary coil. This is your primary right here, and this is the negative post right here. This is the secondary of your coil, and of course these symbols here means it's not connected there, not connected there. What it does, it goes right up to your fence high voltage, and that's right here. That's your center post, goes to your high voltage on your fence. That's your fence. This is the ground, the fence ground, right off the negative. All right, let's go back to the diagram. Okay, on that negative post here of your coil, you have 3 wires. One goes to the ground of your fence. The other one goes to the 5 microfarad 400 volt DC capacitor, and the other one goes to your flasher. And those right here, I'll show you those in the parts list. The flasher is a Wagoner 323 12 volt flasher. The capacitor is an Astron AS1201. You probably can't find one. I'll explain later about the capacitor. That's a 5 microfarad 400 working volt DC. The coil is from the OK car. It's a Ford. It's a Mopar 4176009. The other numbers on it was a 411146B. The battery is one of the battery one I messed up out of my little electric scooter. It's an ML1212, which is a 12 volt 12 amp hour battery. I hope you can see how to connect this up. Your capacitor will be connected on the negative terminal. Your one of the flasher is the negative terminal, and the other wire goes to your ground of your fence. Okay, so at that point there, this other side of your flasher and your capacitor, that other side of that capacitor connects to the other side of the flasher, and on down to the battery negative. So what happens is the negative electrons from the battery travel up here, go through the flasher, and through over the primary of the transformer, through the primary winding, back through my switch, back to the positive of the battery. Now, I'll turn this around and show you. We'll fire this up so you can see this in action. This is probably, I figure, about 10,000 volts, because I went down to a friend's place. She had one of those meters, and it lit every one of them. You've seen them. They have about 8 bulbs. It lit them all up, and it lit them up very brightly. So here we go. That gap right there you see is a 7/16. That's a 7/16 gap. Almost a 1/2 inch. Whoop. Okay, that's all word. There we go. There we go. You don't want to get shocked by that, because it doesn't feel good. I can tell you right now. From experience, why I made a mistake. Okay. And I'm going to plug in the battery charger, because you can run it with that, but don't run it without a battery on it. You can use a battery charger or some kind of a charger to keep the battery charged up, but don't run it with a power supply without this battery, without a battery on there to ballast the thing, because it will backfeed through your battery charger and cause problems. It might even ruin it. Okay, I'll back this, zoom out here. There we go. Now, I want to talk a minute. I'll shut this off. You've seen it work. Okay, I want to talk about the capacitor. You probably can't find a 5 microfarad to a 400 volt capacitor. Okay, so what you can do is open up a CFL. This is a CFL, an old crash CFL that I had on the, that I discovered I had up there in the old shop upstairs. And I took the capacitors out of it. You can do that very easily. You could use a little torch or soldering gun or something. Use the puddle method. You put a whole bunch of solder and you can just pull those parts right out. They came off the board. There's 2 of them. And these capacitors are 200 volt rating, and they're 33 microfarad each. So if you put them in series, it's going to be half. That's 15 microfarads, or a little less than half. Let's say, example, you had a 20 and a 10, doesn't matter. It's the voltage rating that's important. Just give the higher voltage rating as you can. These happen to be 200 volts. Okay, they're polarized capacitors. So I just told you that, or I told you on the other one, I'm not going to probably upload, I'll upload this one because it's going to be a lot shorter. So these electrolytics will not work singly. You can't use a polarized capacitor. It's got to be non-polarized. So if you connect the 2 pluses together, if you connect the 2 pluses together and use the 2 outside negative wires, wire them on long enough, take the 2 outside ones, and what that would do is just go right down here, right across. The 2 outside, the 2 minus ones would go right there where that capacitor is. Instead of this capacitor, you'd use this as your capacitor, because when you put the 2 pluses together like that, it becomes non-polarized. It's a good way to build up some capacitance. And just make sure you try to get something 200 or 300 or 400 volts. Get as high a volt as you can. Don't worry about get as high a voltage as you can, and try to come up with at least 5 microfarad or better. And these happen to be 33, so probably a little. I don't know if it's too high or what, but I did have them in the circuit, and I was able to run a gap down there. Down here, I had a gap of about 3/8 of an inch. So probably not quite as much voltage. I'd say probably 5,000 or 6,000. I didn't take it down, hooked up and down, having their little gauge, have their little voltage tester on it. I didn't do that. I just wanted to make sure it would work, and it does. So there you go. It should be pretty easy to wire up. It's a very simple circuit. Any farmer should be able to hook that up out of parts you gather up out of the shop. I hope you try it out, and I hope you have good luck. How do you